So our focus has been a little bit different from a lot of the MIGS concentration because what we've been doing right from the beginning is looking for a standalone device that can treat primary open-angle glaucoma and perhaps closed angle and elsewhere, mild, moderate, and severe. So we're really looking at wanting to be able to take all comers without having to worry about whether we have to take the cataract out or not in order to get the effect that we're looking for. So I sympathize with my previous speakers on not being able to advance their slides either, so we must have a battery problem here. So what we're trying to accomplish here is have the ability to treat mild, moderate, and severe. We'd like to be able to do this in such a manner where we leverage our best-in-class material. Thank you. We take our best-in-class material and we test it in a randomized trial against trabeculectomy. So we want to go against the big bad boy and take that on and show that you can safely and efficaciously get to a place where trabeculectomies will end up being out of business someday. And we think this standalone market is really the place to be because the red part of that pie in the United States represents those people who have a cataract and they've also got concomitant glaucoma. Our trial is focused on the blue part. And although we can treat that red part outside of the United States, that's not what we're focusing on in the United States. We're going after primary open-angle glaucoma initially, and it's a market size that's a tremendous opportunity. Mild, moderate, severe is going to be our focus. And a couple of years ago when I showed up, we had about 36 patients that we could talk about that have been followed for about 18 months. We've now got about 200 that are entered here. These patients were all entered outside of the United States and under a protocol, a surgical protocol that's the same as what we're doing inside the FDA clinical trial because we wanted to figure out how we were going to do before we started this trial. And as you can see, these patients start with a pre-op IOP on full medications. Okay, these folks are on max meds, and they're still, tracking up well above 20 millimeters of mercury. We get them below 15 millimeters of mercury, which is the point at which AGIS teaches us that it's probably a place where patients, on average, will no longer lose vision. And we get these patients down to about a half a med, even out to year 3. But even more importantly than that, about 70% of these patients are getting completely off their medications. So major goal for us to be able to accomplish all of that. Now I'm going to show you a couple pieces of data nobody's ever seen before in this room. And that is we did a data stratification here where we looked at patients with really high IOP and moderately high IOP. So the green bars, you can see that patient population came in with an IOP of approximately 30 millimeters of mercury. These are not washed out. This is max medication. They're to 30. And look at how the green tracks across there. That gets below 15 millimeters of mercury, down to about a half a med or less, all the way out to 3 years in time. Then you look at the mauve category, and those patients only had about 20 millimeters of mercury going into the study. Again, they get well below 15 millimeters of mercury. And we're not talking about cataract removal here. These are standalone procedures, patients that are on max medications. So a nice stratification that we hadn't seen before. This is what happens when you take a patient who's had a cataract removed. As you can see, whether you take the cataract out or not, our results are going to be the same. So it's not reliant on that human lens coming out to get the results. And as the guy who was the director of marketing for Allergan back when we launched the first foldable IOL, this slide really spoke to me because back in '89 when we launched the PhacoFlex, what was our claim to fame? Procedure might be a little bit harder to do for some people. You had to do phaco when everybody else, when most of the market was doing cataracts, but your patients were going to see better faster. And look what happened. What a revolution that occurred. Now everybody does it that way. So look at this. That yellow bar there is baseline vision. Now the red graphs are those patients who had their cataract taken out and our device put in. Obviously they're seeing great because the cataract was taken out. But look at the blue. Those patients who have standalone procedure are getting their vision back within a week. Now, how many people do trabeculectomies and within 3 or 4 days their patients say, "Can you do my second eye?" Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. It's happening here. So adverse events, obviously we're gonna compare our safety against trabeculectomy safety in the U.S. clinical trial. That's not gonna be a fair fight. We'll beat trabeculectomy if we look at our data outside of the United States. I think we're gonna win that one handily. And then, why are we getting this? We've got a great design, a great material, a great pathway that we're taking. I've worn out the second button too. And this is our pathway. You can see the proximal end of that, the micro shunt in the anterior chamber with the distal end being tucked underneath tenons. We are now in the final phase of our FDA clinical trials, and enrollment has been robust. So we expect to finish this trial earlier than we had predicted previously. The patients are coming in, the doctors are loving this procedure, and they're getting it done in a big hurry. So God willing, and the FDA stays the way that they are, we'll have this available to the market sooner than we would have believed previously. Thank you.